It's almost like the
Mm,
Costco model of free samples, like
mm,
giving them out just a little taste of what they can get.
yes,
And then they're like, yeah, I'm going
I
to buy
like
that
that.
like that 64 gallons of mayonnaise, because I want it.
Welcome back to Revenue Remix, a podcast from Rise of Us, where we take a fresh spin on driving revenue growth, hosted by Summer Poletti, a fractional CRO who works with business owners and leaders who feel held back by outdated systems. This podcast explores how adaptable, unified frameworks can transform static processes, equipping teams to meet evolving customer needs and drive resilient, lasting growth. Each episode features insights from Summer and her guests, offering practical strategies to sidestep common pitfalls and build real revenue momentum. It's time to remix the way we think about growth. Enjoy the show.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the first Revenue Remix panel discussion. I'm Summer Poletti, your host and moderator, and founder of Rise RS, where we help future-focused leaders overcome plateaued growth and plan for their next level. Today, I am joined by three powerhouse voices: Stephanie Brooks, content-led, full-stack marketing leader, consultant, mentor, and advisor, and beekeeper. I want to hear a little bit about that. Sean Paulseth, Director of Enterprise Partnerships and Sales at ZayZoon, and a go-to voice on AI in sales. Yes, please. And Sean Parnell, founder of Innovaxis Marketing, helping companies align sales and marketing strategies that actually drive revenue. And Sean and I have worked together on a number of projects, and that is not marketing fluff right there. So our topic today is what the smartest leaders are doing to win deals now. We do have to acknowledge that this year has been a little wacky, and it's not easy with AI coming in. Everything changed after COVID. It's not easy to win deals now, but it's not impossible. So I want to give everybody credit. If you're tuning in, you're a smart leader too. Consistent learning is a power move. If you've ever have a what the heck moment this year, this conversation is for you. We also recorded a too spicy for public topic, and you're not going to want to miss that. So register and we'll share the clip with you. All right, enough of that. Let's go. So the first topic is all about AI in sales enablement. So Sean Paulseth, I want you to take this one first. 70% of companies struggle to integrate sales plays into their CRM tech stack, leaving value on the table. And that comes from Bain. That's a stat from this year. So, ZayZoon, Sean, you're deep in AI and sales enablement. What is the smartest way you're seeing leaders apply AI right now so their teams actually win deals instead of getting stuck in tech overwhelm?
Yeah, and I think particularly right now in this market and economy, et cetera, it's very easy to get down the AI rabbit hole. So I'll call that out. Look, there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of where can you use this? And I think there's a lot of stuff that we're already doing as revenue systems and revenue leaders that we just need to add a layer of intelligence on, and we can get enormous results from. Something simple that we've started to do is really around coaching, continuous learning, and feedback when it comes to AI. So what I mean by that is how can we optimize the sales conversations that we've had today and then learn from them and find that kind of repeatability and success that we can continue as a sales organization, because almost all sales organizations and sales conversations are recorded. We have transcribers, we have Gong, we have Course. There's all of these different AI transcribers that join virtual meetings and they're recording everything, right? And a lot of people know, at least from a sales leadership standpoint, what's working and what good looks like and what doesn't. So when we start to think about what's happening in these sales conversations, what's being said, objection handling, stories, talking about customers, going up against competitors, what are those data points that AI can then bring out from those transcriptions? And you don't even need to have the most complex type of system that is all connected. You can record these transcribers and put them through your GPT or your own company's GPT or sales organization's GPT and say, hey, look, this is one a deal. These are all the conversations. What went well and what didn't? You as a leader probably already know, so you want to double down on that. Like, it just saves time and you can scale from a continuous learning and optimization standpoint. And it's not that wild of an idea because we're doing a lot of that kind of stuff and we have a lot of that technology already.
I love the continuous learning that you mentioned, Sean. So, Stephanie, I want to know, what is your take on balancing the promise of AI with the reality of adoption?
I mean, at the end of the day, AI is just another tool in the toolbox. Like, we really shouldn't just rely on AI to do the jobs that we're supposed to be doing. I mean, a lot of people can, but the human element is always going to be there, regardless of what all the tech bros say. AI can definitely help with managing a whole lot of data, with providing feedback. It can help with creating sequencing or talking points or digesting business intelligence. The reality is people buy from people. We don't buy from machines yet. And so depending on your industry, you've got to really know your customer, know your product, and just do some basic sales tactics.
Yes, I love where you took that. We buy from people. We're in B2B. There was a trend back in like 2020 where I think Gartner was trying to make it B2H, like it's business to human. That didn't catch on, but that stuck with me. It was like, yes, it's a business, but you're talking to a human being at that business. You don't sell to an entity.
Right.
So, Sean, Parnell, from your lens as that sales marketing strategist, how do you see AI actually bridging the gap between the two functions?
Well, as it's a useful tool in many different ways, we'll see sales using AI because they're better with the spoken word than the written word. So we'll see them being very happy to create emails that are far better than they would write themselves. However, the limitation there is AI doesn't know your brand storytelling foundation. So, and also it's not helping yet sales really transition from product, services, features, benefits, just checking in, type of emails to what are the problems they're solving. Many companies like you have this problem. Here's how we've been able to solve it. Are you interested in learning more? AI is not going to help you with that yet, unless you take a lot of time to train it as you would a person. So then do you have, train your staff to do it, or do you have to train AI to do it for your staff? I think the former, is better at this time. So, and then it really comes down to, with brand storytelling, it's an epidemic. It's just, we see it everywhere where it's just why we're the best, why we're the industry leader, why our products are the best, these great features. And we work with many clients where a lot of their prospects don't even know what that stuff is. We've got a company that does electropolishing, and this is not something taught to engineers in school, but it's something that prevents catastrophic defects in metal parts. And so if you're saying we're the best, we pioneered it, et cetera, that's going to fall on deaf ears because it's like, why do I even need it? You need to establish what's the value of it for them if they have problems of a certain nature. So then it comes down to just really developing your brand storytelling. So the storytelling aspect is just positioning your prospects as recognizing them as the hero of their story. And your opportunity is to guide them away from failure and to success. And having your content reflect that and having your sales team aligned with that. So it's not just messaging, marketing creates and puts on the website and drafts a few emails to send out, but is just inherently part of every communication, whether it's for marketing and sales. So you need that sales and marketing alignment.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen a lot of opportunity for AI to do that unless you really teach it versus having AI write it, from scratch. So we found AI can work really well when it's working with a defined pool of knowledge. Because otherwise, if it's going out on the web, well, if it's on the web, it's true, right?
Yeah, no, I hear that. It's human led. And I know that's cliche by now, but AI can't do the empathy. It can't have nuance. I have a highly trained AI that knows my brand voice. It knows my brand story. It knows my ICP. And I still have to heavily edit what it puts out. So I like human led and human approved, and the AI is in
Yes.
the middle to speed up the process, right?
And what we're
Okay.
finding too is it's not at this time creating knowledge, it's
No.
recycling knowledge. And it's often recycling knowledge from sources that aren't ideal. And when it is injecting, that's where the hallucinations come from. It doesn't yet know how to think on its
Yeah.
own,
It pulls too much from Reddit.
realistically.
Exactly. Yep. Okay, so we're going to switch gears slightly. The news of this year is that sales cycles are lengthening.
Oh,
I feel like I have to say again, right?
yet
B2B
again.
sales cycles are 25% longer than they were 5 years ago. And it's important to note that 5 years ago was COVID, which was a complete shit show. So there's more stakeholders, more consensus building, there's uncertainty, and people are afraid to move. So, Stephanie, I'm going to tag you on this one first. What are the smartest moves you're seeing companies make to cut through complexity and to avoid deals stalling out? It's fine if they lengthen, but if they stall out and go dead, that's not fine, right?
That's stuff. I think the thing that we always have to remember, that entropy or doing nothing or sticking with the status quo is
Mm-hmm.
often believed to be the safer bet when we are faced with
Mm.
uncertainty in the world, and when
Mm.
we're not
Mhm,
really
mhm.
sure where budget's going to go or the economy is going to go. So all of that in mind, we have to help our customers reduce their idea of what that risk is. And
Mm.
they've done psychological studies that the fear of pain, the avoidance of pain, is actually like a much bigger motivator than the thought of success or the thought of, pleasure. So we have to reduce that idea of risk for them. And so sometimes that can be, maybe cutting some like extreme deals for the first few months, or giving a free trial for 90 days, or a money back guarantee. The oldie but goodie of having your evangelists talk with your prospects and just have them talk to each other sometimes works. But really, it just comes down to making sure that you can reduce the amount of risk that goes into it, and so they can look like they've made a smart decision.
Yes, it's helping them confidently make the right decision. Because if they can't confidently make that decision, when I'm working with my clients and I'm training salespeople, I tell them that, okay, who's your biggest competitor? And they'll tell me, and I'm like, no, it's not. It's status quo.
It
It's
is. Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
nothing. Yeah,
Yes.
100%. Okay, so ZayZoon, Sean, since you're the AI guy, what role can AI or partnerships, since you're the partnership guy, how do you leverage both of those to navigate these longer decision journeys?
Yeah, totally. And I think Stephanie hit on it. And you mentioned as well, Summer, like every 5 or so years, you hit something new. It's COVID, and now it's AI, and then it's the economy, and then things are going to all hell. So I think what just to kick this off is what has always helped is like going back to the fundamentals when it comes to sales. And yes, there's always people going to be looking for shortcuts to make, and people are always trying to find tech to do that or do things for them. But I think at the end of the day, whether it's longer sales cycles, decisions are getting more complex. There's more people part of these deal cycles. There are certain things you can, certain levers you can pull. And just because I've lived in the partnership world for the past 10 years in some way, shape, or form, and it's all centered around trust, right? Within partnerships, they have built trust amongst respective customers or people that you want to talk to or have sales conversations with. And in the world of uncertainty and AI and everything like that, to Stephanie's point, they want to go to someone where they trust, where the risk is lowest. So partnerships can be a vehicle for that. Partnerships can accelerate deal cycles. I've seen it firsthand. It can heighten the ACV. It has a multitude of things that it can impact, a lot of it positive, but it's all around, particularly in down markets and things are uncertain. It's around that trust element. And AI can help accelerate some of that. Like when we think about the signaling, we think about what happens when someone goes on your website, for instance, on a marketing side. Like you just went to an event, you had a lot of great conversations. Now a lot of people are visiting your website. How can we then get those signals to those salespeople and say, hey, this healthcare company is really interested? We see a number of people talking, or this partner seems to be very live and very outspoken about working amongst healthcare companies that would fall within your ICP. maybe this is a partner we need to double down on for the next quarter to see how we can build that trust in that relationship to accelerate some of those conversations. So once again, it's never going to be a silver bullet, but there are vehicles within the partnership world, as well as dependent on what you're selling, as well as AI, that can help accelerate some of this. And I think together, partnerships, AI can ensure that when the buyer is finally ready to move, they've already seen your value. And there's not even any need for any of that kind of product first pitch.
Yeah, for sure. I like that AI can help know the intent because salespeople are not good at that, frankly. They're talking to you, therefore they're totally interested in buying, right?
And the
So to
last
get the nuance and the intent that the salesperson can't understand.
and accelerate, and I will just throw in a bonus digital workspace. So a collaborative room where people can asynchronously, that has all the information relevant to IT, finance, HR, whatever the case may be in terms of your buying cycle. So they can do it on their own time. Buying has changed. There's information out there. They want to do things on their own time. They don't want 16 virtual meetings with the same people with the same result. There's different things that now people can do asynchronously within these digital workspaces where you can do mutual action plans, all of these. And I kid you not, that has impacted our sales cycle.
Yeah. And the fun thing about the deal room is like when you start seeing people come in that you don't know,
Yes.
you're like, oh boy, like that is a buying signal, right? I love that. Innovaxis, Sean, I want to talk about that buyer independence. They're getting, I work in sales. What's wrong with me? 68% of B2B buyers prefer researching on their own, and they delay talking to a rep until later and later in the journey. And some of them even say they prefer a rep-free buying experience. By the way, everybody in sales and marketing who's been here more than a year, you did this. This is your fault, mine included. So, Sean, from Innovaxis, what's your take? How can sales and marketing teams show up earlier in the buyer journey when buyers are like intentionally holding them off?
Well, it starts with content. So there's that foundational brand story content, which is what are the problems we solve, and really understanding that, especially because in ChatGPT and the other LLMs, people are researching, they're putting full sentences, paragraphs, prompting it to really research what's out there. Still 14 billion Google searches a day or so, but ChatGPT is exploding. It's only 1 billion searches a day. We think that may eclipse Google next year, if not by the end of this year, because those numbers might be heavily dated already. So making sure that you're prominent with search and AI is critical. The good news is that it all builds off each other. It starts with your brand storytelling content, your thought leadership around that. Second step is to really understand what are people searching for in the ChatGPTs of the world. So
Yep.
there's software now. We like Otterly.ai. It's $20 a month, and you can research what are the prompts, and it'll show you what people are asking, how the LLM has answered that, and who it cited for that information. And we've already found it sources that we didn't know exist. It gives you better insight into how to create new content aligned with that or update existing content to go deeper so that we're fueling, we're more likely to come up in that self-education. And going to the earlier question you asked, Stephanie, how to accelerate sales cycles. Well, one is, especially if you've got more of a big ticket solution, whether it's a service, software, a physical product, it's good to have something before they make that big commitment that's like an initial, maybe it's a free trial, sure, for software, but it might be some form of assessment or audit where it's like we have to coach our software clients, you know, don't just promote the demo. How do you even know what to demonstrate? Your software that could do 1,000 things, what are you going to show them? What's going to have the most impact? Don't
All
do
of
the
it.
dog and pony show. Find out where their pain is. What do they really want to see? What are they looking at with other software
Yeah.
applications out there? What are they doing today? We're a big fan of monetizing the discovery process, which can be done if you offer some sort of more consulting type service that's a lower ticket item that can give them tremendous insight and experience working with you and what you bring to the table, including your demonstration of understanding what their problems are and how you can solve them. And then, that's going to build trust. And that's easier to say yes to and get an engagement rather than jump to the software and the demo.
Yeah. I like that. So, by the way, if you're a SaaS company and you're listening, you're giving too many demos, you're talking too much about features and benefits, you're show up and throw up. It's so prevalent in the SaaS world. And by the way, no one cares about what you built. They only care about how it helps them. So,
The
yes.
demo could be just kind of like oh yeah, let's see how that works before we buy it. Because they bought in to what it does.
Yeah, they just want to see that it works. That's fine. So let's focus though on content. And we've got a content led marketer here as well. So, Stephanie, I'm seeing more and more that content has to fill the gap. They don't want to talk to sales until they're starting to make their decision. So then marketers have to take up more of the load. I think it's HubSpot coined marketing, right? So how
Yes.
does content fill that gap so that buyers can find you, they can help make their decision, and they're willing to take that sales call?
Well, first, Sean Parnell, I love your idea of doing monetizing the discovery process. It's almost like the Costco model of free samples, like
Mm,
giving them out just a little taste of what they can get. And then they're like, yeah, I'm going to buy
like
that,
that.
like that 64 gallons of mayonnaise, because I want it.
Ah,
But so back to content. So content strategy, like when I start with content strategy, I really start to think about, I start with what is it our prospects need to do their jobs effectively and be successful? And what are the answers they're looking for? Most of the time, marketers and salespeople think like marketers and salespeople. We don't think like a customer trying to solve a problem. We think like,
mm-hmm.
here's our, here's our really cool features and benefits. We're the best at doing this. We're the gold standard, which is like, if you don't know me, you need to know that's curse words in my world. Because it's like telling people nothing about what you do or why you're actually going to be the solution to their problem. So when I start with content, I think about what is it that people are searching for. So the number one question I ask is, what questions need to be answered? And then I will develop content around that and distribute it in the places where our customers are at. So not just on my website, but on Reddit, on Wikipedia, on, a whole bunch of different places. Go to where your customers are at and distribute that information. I also, while Sean Parnell was talking about all of the LLMs and search traffic and everything, there is a way to set up in Google Analytics for AI-driven search queries. So you can see how much of your traffic is coming from LLMs now. And I have a video that I put on my LinkedIn, but I'm happy to share it out.
Yeah, please do. It moves so quickly. I know we said this 5 years ago that it was hard to keep up. It's really hard to keep up now.
It's very hard to keep up. I do like it though, and I've said this in another engagement where content right now is coming back to how it used to be before people started gaming, before like fancy websites were the thing. Content is actually much more important it than it was maybe 5 years ago. Before you could just build a fancy website and people are like, oh, this is a really cool website, I'm going to buy from you. But content has come back around to how it was when SEO first started. And it was important to find, what people were searching for had to be on the website. And we're back in that space again. It's not just about how you can game the search results or how much paid search you do. It's really about how much content and the value that you create in that content and the answers that you provide for people who are searching.
Yeah, it's an interesting time. And Google makes, 80% of their money off of paid ads. So
Yeah.
this will be an interesting time before Google figures out how to make money off of AI search. And then we have a new gamification. So
Well, they already have. They have an AI-based search. So they have a whole tool for it. It's out of beta. I'm using it for one of my clients right now. And
before we move on to the next topic, ZayZoon, Sean, we're talking about basically buyers don't want to talk to us salespeople anymore. So real quick, what are you doing to make sure that salespeople do provide value? How are you changing your approach with your teams in this moment?
Yeah, and this was brought up a little bit before as well. I think there's a lot you can do before even having that conversation. And there's a lot that AI is doing and partnerships and all of these types of things that you're doing before you even hop on the call or go have that in-person meeting. And what we're doing as a team is if there's a finance executive that we're selling into at a specific industry, we have a number of content that we have created specifically for these types of situations that we could then send through a deal room that would all be relevant to them. So there could be a demo that's for a CFO for an SMB company. There could be a demo we created for an HR leader and then a enterprise company, and all of those things may be different. All of this content can be sent before, and also understanding signaling on websites and being
Mhm.
present at the right time. It's like getting that message to them at the right time is where I think AI can really help with that. And then what content is relevant. I think gone are the days, which I don't think they ever were here, of like just the same pitch with the same products over and over again to the same persona. The more personalized, the better. And they're already getting to 0 to 1 anyway. So by the time they talk to you, they don't even want to hear about the products and features. To Sean's point, like they already know them. They already 90% of
Mhm.
the way. They kind of want to check risk and they want to check a customer. And if you have a partner there that can help fill that void, being like, hey, no, I trust this partner the most because they work with
Mhm.
financial services companies the most, then we're going to go with you ultimately. And I think if you make it as easy as possible, back to like sales fundamentals, like it's easy as possible to make that decision from trust, risk. By the time they get to you, it's going to be a no-brainer. Just leading up to it to ensure that they're confident with you as the right choice for that solution.
Yeah. And I'm going to add, when left to their own devices, they're generally going to do nothing. So the salesperson is there to guide them. And salespeople, like, you got to get like really nicely aggressive with your follow up. It takes way more follow up than it used to. So a lot of these deals, they're not going to happen without a salesperson on the ball.
Yeah. And then, like, it's speed is still is so important, right? Like I find when things get tough in the sales world, people have gone lazy at that point. They don't follow up as
Yeah.
much, or they have the
Yeah.
silver bullet software. So people just came to them and it was all inbound. And then things got tough and they had to do outbound. And they're like, oh, I have no idea what to do. I don't even know what a good follow up is anymore. You know what I mean? Like, so when
Yeah.
things do get tough, you get back to those fundamentals.
Yeah. And before we move on, I'm going to add this little nugget. 17% of salespeople have gone through former sales training. So when you talk about fundamentals, the vast majority of salespeople do not have them. So there, punch everybody in the face every once in a while.
And
So
also, if I could jump in, because the being more proactive as a salesperson, as we've talked about, Summer, is so important that you're either asking questions that re-engage prospects
yeah,
or give them something. Never
yeah,
just checking in, because then you're just a pain in the butt and just one more person to deal with that's taking time and not giving them anything.
100%. And by the way, marketing content helps with that. Okay, so I want to leave time to talk about CEO confidence. I put this in here because there was a report that in third quarter of 25, confidence took the sharpest drop in one quarter since the 70s. Yikes, okay? And as we sit today, no politics allowed on this show, but the government shut down. So that's not going to help. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. This is a shit show. So we're dealing with that. I have a lot of empathy. I work with small businesses. I work with growth stage businesses. There's a lot of pressure. So, Stephanie, with confidence this low, and yet there's pressure to innovate, how are the smartest CEOs balancing innovation with risk management? You can't spend willy-nilly, but you
Right.
also should not pull back right now, because who knows when certainty will return.
Right, right. I think that innovation doesn't have to actually cost a lot of money. That's the first thing I'm going to say. Smart CEOs know that their people are actually their greatest asset, and fostering the trust, like Sean Parnell mentioned, like the trust with your teams and your people, and having a spirit of innovation will help overcome a lot of risks. I think we've all been in an environment where we didn't feel like we had the trust or the leeway to be creative and come up with solutions to solve our customers' problems, where we just had to follow a rule book and just do it. That to me is very risky to live that way. But when teams feel empowered, to be innovative, and they have the resources and the time and the permission to do it, then great things can happen. When they're feeling like we're micromanaged, or there's no trust between departments. Like, that is also an issue when there's definitely no trust between sales and marketing, product and sales and marketing, then you're not going to see innovation. You're just going to see doing things the way you've always done them and installing out. So the biggest risk I think most CEOs, smart CEOs, know that the biggest risk is not trusting your teams and squelching any kind of creativity and innovation. And it
But
doesn't
yes,
cost any money to do that. It just costs having faith in yourself as a leader to let other people do things.
sure. And I want to go down a rabbit hole, but that whole thing about the teams trusting each other, in times like this, infighting happens.
Hmm.
And they're going to be busy pointing fingers at each other instead of trying to figure out how to work through a tough time, because everybody's going to start covering their own butt in a misaligned organization. So I'm glad you brought it to that, because that's my thing. Let's see. So, Sean Parnell, you're the CEO here. I mean, I'm a CEO of me, but that doesn't count. So how do you see, like, our CEOs over or under investing when confidence wavers? I think I know the answer to that question, but from you.
Well, obviously, there's a massive
And
tendency
focus it on
to
go
cut.
to market, of course, not product.
Yeah, there's a massive instinct to cut, but then they're just cutting their own throat because it's going to generate revenue when you cut things that tend to generate revenue, you're just digging a deeper hole. Now, there is a case to be made for things that are supposedly generating leads and revenue, but aren't working that well. So I think
Mm,
it's to, reevaluate what is effective, maybe with some improvement, what's not working well, can it work well, and what are the things we're not even thinking of today. But also, I think this a really smart approach, just like in your investment portfolio, diversify. What are additional opportunities, ways to add value to existing clients and customers, penetrates market further as your competitors cut back and go stand on the sideline? It's an opportunity for you to forge ahead. And then what are adjacent markets that works? It's really important to really take a step back. If sales are down, that's never fun, but it gives you some space to, reevaluate. And I just resist the temptation to, lay off talented people because, they're hard to find. You invest so much in them. I'd rather take a profitability hit so that, we're able to scale up when the growth cycle, starts again.
mm, mm. You took it somewhere where I didn't know you were going to take it. And by the way, grocery CEOs don't agree with your don't lay people off. We just went grocery shopping and there was like nobody to help. And by the way, the prices are like, anyway, yeah, your people are going to get you through this. And that's an important distinction. You're going to piss them off if you lay them off. And then you're going to go back when things are good and they're going to be like, screw you. No, I don't want to come back to work for you. Boy. All right. So ZayZoon, Sean, let's talk about partnerships here. How can partnerships help? CEOs are losing confidence, sales cycles are longer. We're going to see sales drop if the economy continues to be uncertain and volatile. So how can we hedge partnerships to help?
Yeah, I think because I've worked for a number of different startups and scaled through different macroeconomic climates, et cetera, I found that the CEOs that were the most transparent and the most centered around execution, and I'll kind of give you an example in the partnership world, but focused on the ones that kind of stayed back and hoped for the best, those ones usually in the SaaS world won't make it, unfortunately. And the ones that say, hey, look, like I think to Sean's point, diversifying, let's try a new region like our company did recently, or let's try a new partner here, because if we just do one partner and they buy a competitor, we're done overnight. We've been invested all of that. If you said, no, we're safe here, it seems okay, our revenue's stagnating, but we're going to stay here, boom, and then overnight the lights are off. I think it's about executing and trying new things and pushing forward. And I think a theme of this, I think, conversation is around the leaders that they have and the people that they have. And are they able to push through some of those tough times? And if you're launching a new partner in a new region or anything like that, to diversify, because you have to find new ways to find revenue now, and put some
Mm,
resources, be transparent about it, know that, hey, let's give it enough time. That's another thing. If you're trying new partnerships or trying new channels, often knowing they're like, let's just try it for 3 months. And they hadn't started at all. That's not enough time really to understand whether or not that's going to work. You have to give it enough resources because I find that a lot of executives will say, hey, that sounds okay. Partnership sounds like, yes, bigger ACV, shorter sales cycles in theory is always good, but we only try it for a couple months and then we're like, no, we don't have enough time for that. We need to go back to the outbound model or the inbound model that's been working for the past 5 years. Well, maybe there's something different that you can do.
Yeah. By the way, it's all bound now.
Yeah.
Partners, inbound, outbound. Yeah, you have to do all of it.
Yeah.
And I like where you took that to give it time. We like to give things 90 days, but in SaaS, your sales cycle is 24 months. So you're just
But if you're in
wasting the 90 days. You may as well just not do it.
Yeah, like, and if you're in the enterprise world and on top of the longer sales cycles, which we're in, is you may not know for another year and a half whether or not that was a good idea. And so you have to make sure that you're tracking the right metrics and looking at the right data to give you the right signals to push forward for your executives and board.
Yep. And before we move on to a lightning round, I'm going to leave it with this. It's not all doom and gloom. If we remember the last time there was uncertainty and volatility, it was COVID, obviously. If you were a restaurant, you were hosed. But if you sold toilet paper or bleach, like every bad economic downturn has some industry that kicks ass. So find a kind of adjacent market and test it out. You can do some careful innovation in a down market if you're paying attention to the right signals. Okay, so we're going to do a lightning round. This is like one sentence punchy answer. We're going to go Sean Paulseth first, Stephanie second, Sean Parnell last, and I'll always throw in just like a little something, right? So, ZayZoon, Sean, our listeners are generally founders. So what's one thing they can do today to make sure the best clients don't take the competitor call? This is fourth quarter, right? One thing.
Yeah, lead with proactive value. So make sure that you're coming to your clients and even solving more problems than they thought they even had.
Yes, continuous value. Stephanie, one thing they can do today.
I would involve them in a client advisory board to solicit their opinion on how to improve the product and really just make them part of the process of building it so that they are invested in the future of the product.
Love that. They feel special. Sean Parnell, one thing.
Talk to them. Find out what's
going
on.
Yes.
How can we do better together?
I'd rather know than not know. Excellent. Okay, Paulseth, what is one question that every CEO should be asking their sales team right now, this week?
Where are we creating financial impact for our prospects today?
Nice. Love it. It's always money, especially now. Stephanie, one thing that we should ask the sales team this week.
I would ask, what is keeping our customers up at night? Like, what is the most burning problem that they're dealing with, and how can our solution or product solve it?
Yes, and solve it better than a competitor. Parnell, one question.
Where are we on all these deals? How are we adding value at every step? And if they're not sure, let's work to figure that out.
Yeah. Well, this is the first day of fourth quarter. What's going to close by December 31 or not? It's totally fair to ask that. Paulseth, what is one low effort lever a revenue leader can pull right now to shorten sales cycles? Close before Christmas.
Use deal rooms, period. Just try them out. You can get pilots really easily, almost for nothing right now.
Yes, I love that.
No, I don't
and
sell
by the way, some that are cheap, and your advisory board that Stephanie suggested, put them in the deal room. Okay, so Stephanie, one.
It's really simple, but make it easy for your customer to buy from you. Don't make it hard for them to give you money.
Yeah, I get it. Sometimes we are our own worst enemy, right? All right, Parnell, one low effort lever.
Well, to Stephanie's point, use DocuSign today. Write the case study before the sale. So if we're estimating the impact, if we know what problem, if we've talked effectively and heard effectively, more importantly, if we have an understanding of what their problems are, what our value is going to have for them, what do we think the impact is going to be?
Case study before the sale. I want to explore that later. Not today. We don't have time. But I think also it's important to realize that your customers are feeling some pain too. If you can get a little creative and work with them within their budget constraints or something, it's time to show some empathy, right? Well, we're going to wrap this up. So thank you, Stephanie, Sean, and Sean, for this great discussion. These are important things that people need to hear right now. I know that you helped folks that are feeling a little bit uncertain. Head on over to my website to get the director's cut package, which includes the exclusive Too Spicy for Public. I swear to God, I didn't know I was going to have a pepper whole thing this morning. And my AI is going to turn everything that you just heard into an executive briefing that translates today's panel into actionable strategies. You won't want to miss that. So if you're listening in the gym or the car, I appreciate you too, and I will see you next time on Revenue Remix.